Hello everyone, welcome back to the European International Pokemon Trading Card Game Championships. We have, it looks like some sort of Lost Box mirror. It looks like Goodra on the right versus just more of a standard Mirage Gate type thing on the left with the Radiant Greninja, the Raikou, and all that stuff because we have the Lightning Energy, probably Dragonite as well. We will have to see how this goes. Kyogre. Alright, it's the Kyogre version. It's definitely in Goodra's favor for Hermione here, just because Goodra does take 80 less damage after it uses the Rolling Iron attack. So that is a pretty big hill for Lost Box to have to overcome. However, it's not impossible. It's probably like 60-40 Goodra's favor. But Goodra could always just not set up, not get any cards in the Lost Zone. You could always just get a really good Dragonite off at some point before the Goodra evolves into the V-Star. Along with the boss's orders to bring it up. Stuff like that. There could always be Escape Rope boss as well. So a lot of different tools in the arsenal there. Looks like we are playing the Articuno here in the Goodra deck. Not really quite sure why these Goodra decks have decided for this tournament to put that Articuno into the deck. I'm not really sure how that really helps your matchups whatsoever. I'm pretty sure it's for Lugia. But I don't know if buying a turn with Articuno is worth the deck space for it. In a deck that's already like the least consistent Lost Box variant. Yeah, I don't really know if it's worth it. So it looks like the judges just put up a Lost Zone counter there for Ithiel. Even though it's already on screen. We are going to Battle VIP Pass for Comfey Radiant Greninja. If you've seen any of my videos, who would have thought? I always say you get 2 Comfeys and a Radiant Greninja turn 1 if you're Lost Box, if you can. We are going to also Nest Ball for a Cramorant. Don't really think that's needed this turn. I would have liked to see maybe another Comfey instead. Just because with the rotation of the Scoop Up net, it's a lot harder to get the most value out of these Comfeys. So sometimes you do actually have to use 3 separate Comfeys in a turn. Or you could have even just put down the Hisuian Goodra so that it can evolve into the Goodra V-Star on the next turn. Thus giving it more HP. I also think a good inclusion in Goodra would be the Leafy Camo Poncho. You usually don't really use the Choice Belt on it anyway. So if you could put a much more useful tool like that onto it, then it stops your opponent from being able to do that Escape Rope boss play to reset the effect on yourself from your own Rolling Iron. It looks like Hermione's going to give away the tech immediately here. Going to Lost Zone that Articuno. So now the opponent is aware of that if that comes into play in a future game here. It should be the only copy that Hermione plays. I don't know how you would utilize more than one of those in this deck. We are going to go for the concealed cards. Going to draw 2 cards. And then we have another Nest Ball. So here's where we would like to see a Goodra. Yeah, we do get the Goodra here. Although we are going second, so that's why we got the Cramorant. I completely forgot Ithiel actually had a turn already. Because there is that 1 card in the Lost Zone. And it looks like we've got 2 Lost Zone counters for Hermione. 1 on the right side of the board and 1 on the left side of the board. We're going to use our first flower selecting now. Kind of crazy that we haven't flower selecting yet. Just use that 1 Chorus's Experiment to get those 2 in the Lost Zone. As well as build up our hand. These decks love to just build up their hands as high as possible. We do actually Lost Zone a Chorus's Experiment, so there must be another one in hand for next turn. We are going to switch into the other Comfey. We're going to use that one now. Usually these Lost Box decks like to play Switch Cart over Switch just because there's no difference except for the fact that Switch Cart can also heal your Pokemon. However, Goodra V-Star is not a basic Pokemon, so you do have to play regular Switch instead. Same with the Giratina versions, you have to play regular Switch instead of Switch Cart as well. Just because the Giratina V-Star is a V-Star Pokemon, it is an evolution. We do get a second Hisuian Goodra down as well. We have a V-Guard on our first one too, so that's going to be yet another minus 30 potentially. Although in this matchup, it might not be super relevant. It's definitely going to be relevant if we see that escape rope boss. There is already at least one escape rope in hand that I can see, maybe two. So we're going to Colress's Experiment. Look at the top 5 cards of our deck. Choose 3 to put in our hand. Choose 2 to put in the Lost Zone. The Battle VIP Pass is very much an easy decision. I would think maybe it looks like there's 2 Switch Carts, so one of those is perfectly fine here. Just because you need to keep that other Comfey, so you can use both of these Comfeys this turn, potentially. Might as well play the Escape Rope now, just to switch into the Comfey if you can. Well, I guess if you can avoid using the Escape Rope now, you want to save it for the Goodra, right? We're going to Lost Zone another Battle VIP Pass. Very easy decision. Makes me miss Oranguru being in format, because you could always Primate Wisdom a Battle VIP Pass to the top of your deck and then choose to Lost Zone it, which would always be a really fun play. That's another card that makes this Lost Box deck a little less consistent. We are being forced to use one of our Escape Ropes now, but it is okay. We play probably 4. If we played any less than that, I would be seriously questioning the deck list. We are going to go in with our second flower selecting here. Look at the top 2. This will be the 5th card in the Lost Zone. We have a Cramorant as well, so we could always use another Switch Cart or Escape Rope to put that active, maybe take a prize. Especially since the Greninja is active now. That's the thing that Hermione would want to put up into a Cramorant. So if you have another Escape Rope, you do kind of feel forced to go for it now. But I don't see that we're going for that. We're going to go for the Cramorant instead. So you don't like hitting the Radiant Greninja, but I feel like that is the correct course of action here specifically, just because you don't want to burn your Escape Ropes if you can avoid it. If you have enough Boss's Orders in deck, usually Lost Box plays at least 1. So you can do that play on the Goodra to get around its minus 80. The minus 80 just really throws off your math a ton. We do see Melanie coming in here. That's going to put a Water Energy from discard onto one of the Pokemon V that Hermione has. That's going to be that Hisuian Goodra. And then draw 3 cards. We do have the Goodra V-Star here now. All we need is a Metal Energy. We do have that already. Just hard attaching that for turn. We're going to switch, go directly into the Goodra, and we are already rolling away with Rolling Iron. Going to knock out that Cramorant, and now we'll be taking 80 less damage from our opponent's attacks. So Ithiel already does have that, Escape Rope, so we can potentially reset that effect, but I don't think we have the boss's orders. We do have Mirage Gate, but also no attacker that is really good for that. However, you can always go in with the Radiant Greninja, even though the Goodra V-Star is active right now. You can always go right around it. You could hit the other Goodra V-Star, or the other Goodra V, and then knock out one of the Comfey, or you could knock out double Comfey. I kind of like going for the damage on the Goodra more, just because softening it up by that 90 just really helps with math later in the game, especially if you have to go through a Rolling Iron. So we do Pokegear. Looks like we failed it, unfortunately. You would love to see another Colress's Experiment come off of that. We have 8 cards in the Lost Zone here. So we are 2 away from being able to attack with that Sableye that's on the bench here now. We are going to use Escape Rope now. We're going to go in with the other Comfey. We are going to Flower Selecting. Looks like chose not to actually switch the Comfeys like he's supposed to. So technically that is incorrect. He's just using the ability on the benched one instead of actually switching his Pokemon. Which is honestly a nitpick, but I'm surprised these judges didn't actually call him out for it. We have yet another escape rope in hand, but we do really want to conserve that if we can. The big problem with the Goodra V-Star, more so than its in minus 80 attack, is that it also has that Moisture Star ability, the V-Star power, where it can just completely heal itself. So you can start loading up just a whole bunch of damage, even just with Sableye, and then all of a sudden all of it's gone. Because even 2 Sableyes isn't enough to knock out 1 Goodra V-Star. Like, it would still have 30 left, even after you use all of the damage counters from 2 Sableyes. So we are going to use Mirage Gate. That is going to go to the Radiant Greninja here. And we're probably going to see that attack this turn. We do have second Mirage Gate. Not getting the most use out of the Mirage Gate like you would have liked to, but at least you can get an energy to your Pokemon to retreat, and then the second water to your Greninja. So we can attack with it now. I would actually prefer to see the 90 go down to both Goodras, because then maybe you can Mirage Gate to a Raikou later in the game. Unfortunately, I did see that the Raikou was prized. I did see what the prize cards were a little bit for Ithiel. So maybe if we have that Dragonite, we would be able to maybe swing in for a knockout. Because we're doing minus 80. So yeah, no, you'd still be 10 short even with Dragonite. Even if you do the, Greninja's attack here. So that's the real question, is where do you put the damage here? Do you knock out both Comfey, or do you start racking up damage on the Goodras? Because the Goodras are really the hardest things to get through. So putting the damage on those really helps a lot, but also you can just take an easy 2 prizes here off of the 2 Comfey. So he chooses the 2 easy prize cards. It also does make it so Hermione has a lot less outs to being able to get those cards into the Lost Zone. There is only 4 in there right now. He did Melanie to get this first Goodra going. So we're going to have to see if we do find our way into a Colress's Experiment to start stacking those up in the Lost Zone so that we can Mirage Gate later. These Goodra decks also only tend to play 3 Mirage Gate, it seems now, because they are so more overly reliant with the Melanie now. It does help speed the deck along a little bit, and it makes the amount of cards you have in the Lost Zone just a lot less. We are going to see the Raihan here is going to put a Water Energy onto the Radiant Greninja. A little bit surprising of a decision, but if you can Mirage Gate, it looks like we're going to go for the Mirage Gate on the next turn because we do have the Colress's Experiment in hand. But if you can attack with the Greninja, you can do the same thing to Ithiel. You can knock out 2 of his Pokemon at the same time and take 2 prize cards in 1 turn. It'd be really nice to also see an attach for a turn to the benched Goodra, but looks like we don't get to see that. Do not have that in hand. The Raihan did have to grab the Colress to make sure that Hermione has a live hand. And we know that's not going to get disrupted because these Lost Box decks do not play Judge. It always wants to stack as many cards into its own hand as possible, so it's not going to play a card that reduces its own hand size. The only thing that it could possibly be playing is Roxanne, and that doesn't work until your opponent is at 3 prize remaining anyway, or less. So we are going to see the Nest Ball here is going to look through the deck, get another basic Pokemon. Looks like we're going to eye up the Dragonite here. That can do a lot of serious damage, and it can live a hit from a Goodra as well. That would give Hermione the perfect opportunity to use the Radiant Greninja on this next turn, but... or even attack into the Dragonite with the Cramorant. Yeah, you could use your V-Star power and then attack with Cramorant, and then on the next turn attack with Goodra again to knock out the Dragonite. So, I don't know, maybe Ithiel can get to a boss's orders next turn would be pretty great. There is a Chorus's Experiment off of this, along with the Manaphy. That is a hard decision. I would not go with the... I would not put the Manaphy in the Lost Zone there. I think he... Okay, he's going to play Chorus's Experiment here. Yeah, I don't like the Manaphy being in the Lost Zone because you already see one energy on that Greninja. That is one Mirage Gate away from ever happening. Your opponent being at 4 prize cards means that as long as they have their own Chorus's Experiment, which you know they probably searched for with that Raihan, makes it so they go to 6 as long as they get one Compe into play and can switch into it, use its ability, and switch back out. Or even just retreat. That'll be 7 cards in the Lost Zone. So they're at like the perfect number to get to 7 the next turn. Or if they play like Lost Vacuum or something, they could get it in there that way as well. Looks like we do get the Dragonite. We're eyeing up using the Forest Seal Stone this turn, it looks like, because that was in the front of the hand. We are going to go for the Energy Recycler. We do have more than 5 energy in the discard pile, so definitely going to be using those. Yeah, either one of the water or the lightning is fine here, I think. I think I would like the lightning just because it makes an additional Mirage Gate in the future more live, potentially, but yeah, I would definitely not do a Psychic Energy if I can avoid it, unless I'm putting it on the Sableye, which it looks like we do. We're going to go for the Psychic Energy on the Sableye. So we have 1 Psychic, 2 Water, and a Lightning still in deck. We've already used 3 Mirage Gates, so there is only the potential for 1 more in this game. I'm fairly confident it wasn't Lost Zoned, so should be in deck or in prize cards. So it looks like we did decide to get rid of the Manaphy because we are planning to go for the Sableye attack this turn instead of the Dragonite. That seems fair. You get more value out of the Sableye really this turn anyway. So that will knock out the Radiant Greninja. That's going to make it a non-issue. Not going to need the Manaphy now because the only attacker for the bench Pokemon is no longer in the picture. Unless Hermione has a way to recycle Pokemon, but Ordinary Rod did rotate. So until Super Rod is reprinted in the next set, they won't have access to that. So we're going to put 2 onto the Greninja to knock it out. And then we have another 10 to spread out however we want. It's a little bit of a decision on how you want to do it. I think you might want to put just a large... I think you want to put all 10 to the active Goodra. Because if they don't heal it, then you can knock them out with the Giratina. The Dragonite V. You force the heal. But then again, if you only do 5... then you can escape rope boss in a future turn and then one-shot it with Dragonite, and then they had no good opportunity to use the V-Star power. No good opportunity to get moist, as they say. Yeah, so as I always say, make sure you comment, like, and subscribe because it does feed the YouTube algorithm and make sure these videos go out to other people who may enjoy it as well. We can keep that channel growing so that we can... keep having great videos like this. Hopefully, less moist videos in the future. Goodra's a really interesting deck, but I have to play against it a lot. It's annoying. It's a very annoying deck to have to go up against. I actually saw... you would think that Fantina was a card that was made specifically to be used with Goodra. It's just not good enough. You'd rather Chorus's Experiment or Melanie or Raihan or Boss every single turn with the deck. Those are all just better options. But I actually saw a Giratina V-Star deck use Fantina the other day, and I was flabbergasted. It reduces the damage you take by like 100 or something stupid like that if you have 10 cards in the Lost Zone. I think that's how it is. Reduces the damage you take by like some number. Gonna Lost Zone our Beach Court with that Comfey there. We are now at... We are at 7 now, so we can Mirage Gate. Unfortunately, a little too late to be able to utilize Greninja, so we are just going to go back into the Goodra, knock out the Sableye. Okay, I guess he's still thinking. Yeah, I'm not sure what else you're going to do this turn after you already put the Goodra active. Oh, he was deciding if he wanted to Moisture Star or not. So, I mean, it's both risky to do it here and risky not to do it here. Because you're not getting a good value off of that Moisture Star. But now you're making it so your opponent, if they have Escape Rope Boss, they can't knock it out this turn. Just another reason to play Leafy Camo Poncho, in my opinion. Leafy Camo Poncho is very underrated. It's good on Vulpix, it's good on Goodra, it's good on Duraludon. It's okay on Arceus. I've already seen people play it in Mew previously, although I thought that was bad. I mean, it's not bad if you're facing a Drapion, I guess. So what do you do here if you're Ithiel? I think you can, if you can get your final Mirage Gate, I think attacking with Dragonite here would be fine, because you would do, well, no, actually. Yeah, because if you attack with Dragonite, then you can clean up with Sableye on the next turn. And the Goodra can't knock it out in one hit, but the problem is you still have to fight your way through probably both Goodras. Although the Sableye has already put some damage down onto the Cramorant, so you could put 6 damage counters on that at any point to finish it off. So you're doing 170 with Dragonite right now, so that would leave 100 on Goodra. So you could only ever put 2 more damage counters on the Cramorant at the same time, so you can't take a 3-prize turn with the math that's like that. So I think Hermione might have seen that possible outcome and did the Moisture Star now for that reason? I don't know. Yeah, I think saving the Moisture Star for another turn would have felt better. So, Chorus's Experiment coming out from Ithiel here. We do finally see that Mirage Gate. So we are going to Lost Zone the Lost Vacuum as well as another Chorus's Experiment. So we will be able to Mirage Gate this turn. We should still have the energy in deck that we need. And if not, we have the energy in hand along with the Beach Court. So we can attack with Dragonite at any point so long as we don't draw into that energy. Looks like we're going to switch cart into the... Oh, we must have already retreated. So we switch cart into the Sableye, and we are going to be able to spread some damage now. So how do you want to do it? 10 to the active, and then 2 to the Cramorant? Yeah, because if you do 10 to the active, you can finish it off with Dragonite. Or you can knock out both bench Pokemon, but that feels bad. Yeah, I would do just the rest on to the Goodra. Or he's softening both up. Okay, yeah. No, this is good. Because now as long as he has a boss's orders, he is able to win the game off of Dragonite. Because he did just take 1 prize card off of the Comfey, cutting off Hermione's way to draw into additional cards. He already has a ton of cards in hand, so without being able to Roxanne this turn is just kind of a... kind of really not worth it there, getting rid of the Comfey, when you could have had 1 more damage counter in play, potentially. Although, I guess that 1 damage counter doesn't matter. So, we're going to Mirage Gate. We're going to get our energies that we need onto our second Goodra here. And the only thing that we are afraid of is just a boss's orders now. So if we can Roxanne this turn, that would be pretty good. Oh, but no, we're going to go for the boss's orders here. And a choice belt. And we're going to knock out the Dragonite in one hit. So now Ithiel needs to recycle the Dragonite. Or do a really big hit with that Raikou that he finally took off his prize cards. But I don't think the Raikou can hit anywhere near hard enough. And the Goodra is going to be able to just one-shot it. Yeah, the choice belt coming out of nowhere there for Hermione was a really big move. Because that just went it from, like, check in Ithiel's favor to check in Hermione's favor. Again, I love using my chess analogy. I'm gonna Lawsona Comfey, get another water energy into hand that we'd rather have in deck. Yeah, I don't know what Ithiel can do here now. This is like the one situation where Choice Belt is just better than any other tool on the Goodra. Specifically for the Dragonite. And you can see just how like bad of a matchup it is for just straight Lost Box into Goodra because of that -80. You have to play in just such odd ways. I don't know why the judges are still counting the Lost Zone because there's more than 10 cards in there. Yeah, there's 17 cards in there. You don't need to be counting that high. You can use Sableye and Mirage Gate. Woo! We do have the Clara gets the Dragonite back, but now that we have double water energy in hand, we do have energy recycler here. Okay, so what's... Yeah, so this is the issue, is Hermione still has 3 attackers, and Ithiel needs to put up a 1-prizer. Hermione just knocks it out to take the final prize card, and Ithiel can't do anything. He could have he had another energy recycler, so he could have put that into the deck. Played that to put the energy back into deck, to Mirage Gate to his Dragonite, and then attack with it, but because Ithiel still had the 1-1-prizer left, he was able to put that up to make sure Ithiel couldn't win on that turn. And then he wins on the following turn. So, honestly, really well played by both players there. We're going to skip a little bit ahead to try to get through some of the shuffling and just get right into the prize cam if we can. And of course, we're at 480p all of a sudden out of nowhere, so we're going to fix that. I'm like, why is my video loading so fast? That is an awful starting hand. Mulliganed once and then has to start with a hand of all energy and a Manaphy. Then prizing Kyogre isn't bad, especially since you have the heavy ball. You'll draw the heavy ball before that anyway. So you can always get to the Kyogre the turn you need it. That was another thing is, Ithiel did not have the Kyogre for late game. That was the first card that he lost zoned, and he might have ended up regretting that. But if you draw it too early, you do just have to do that. Looks like we do top deck the Raikou, retreat into it, and fleet-footed. So even though we don't draw anything useful off of that fleet-footed, that's one more draw that we've advanced into potentially drawing something usable. So maybe we're one card closer to a Colress's Experiment. So even though Hermione has the ability to potentially attack with Cramorant into the Raikou, your hand is so dead that you had to risk putting it active and getting damaged. So we do get the opening battle VIP pass from Hermione here. He is, looks like, moving all the Pokemon to the front and all the energy to the back to check his prize cards. That is something I do from time to time, but I've learned to only do it in best of 1 because it takes too much time to check your prize cards in best of 3. Just check the really important things, like your energy count and maybe how many Goodras you have. And leave it at that. You can always continuously check prize cards over every deck search over the course of the game. Or if you just, play heavy ball like Ithiel does if you have it turn 1. That's just best case scenario. So we are going to get the Radiant Greninja and Comfey, as we like to do in Lost Box decks. I know I mentioned this in a previous video, and I got some comments about it as I asked, but comment down below if you consider Lost Box to be just the version that, you know, plays like Raikou, Dragonite, Kyogre, or like Radiant Charizard, or if you also consider decks like Giratina and Goodra to be Lost Box decks. In my opinion, if you are playing a deck that has Comfey and Chorus's Experiment both in it, you are playing a Lost Box deck. Or I guess just Comfey in general. If you're playing Comfey in a deck, it's a Lost Box deck. But definitely if you're playing both. So it's like Lost Box Goodra, Lost Box Giratina, Lost Box Alolan Vulpix, etc. It looks like Hermione doesn't have a way to switch out this Goodra that he started with, so that is, or that's stuck there. So, does help Ithiel out a little bit here. We do draw into a Comfey off of our Fleet-Footed from the Raikou here. So we could retreat into the Comfey and use Flower Selecting. I think he must have just passed, though, leaving the Raikou active. I'm not sure if I agree, because the Raikou does have a 1 retreat cost. You could have just retreated. You still have plenty of energy in hand. You could have just retreated it into the Comfey. At least gotten a card in the Lost Zone and see 2 more deep. Or no, he had to retreat the Manaphy because Hermione bossed it last turn. That's what happened. So yeah, no, he definitely did the right thing. So yet again, retreating the Manaphy with another energy he has in hand. Has to look at the top 2 and Lost Zone one of them. And still just drawing super bad, both of these players. If Ithiel wants any chance of winning or tying this match, he's going to have to find a way out of this dead hand. Even though Hermione's super bricking now too, he's already up a game with 16 minutes left on the clock. So even if you're Hermione bricking like this, you have to feel pretty good in this position. Even if it takes you like 5 more turns to get set up, your opponent has done quite literally nothing. Yeah, it looks like still not doing anything either. We do get a Nest Ball here. We are going to Flower Select. I think I would have liked to see the Nest Ball first to get another Comfey, and then thin that deck of 1 more card to potentially get closer to Chorus's Experiment. But we do get the Beach Court, so it's fine. Now we can Nest Ball for the Comfey. And now we don't have to waste the energy. Or we could get the Radiant Greninja. We still have a lot of energy in hand and an energy recycler. We could always just get even more value by getting that Greninja. But I think maybe getting more cards into the Lost Zone. Your opponent has 0 cards in the Lost Zone. So if you can race them on Lost Zone, maybe you can get a quick game and tie it up. So yeah, that is a really interesting decision on whether or not you want to go for Radiant Greninja here or Comfey here. He is also trying to identify his prizes, and again, you have 14 minutes left. 14 and a half minutes left. Do you really want to be spending all of that time identifying your prize cards, or do you want to try to win the game as fast as possible to get into a Game 3 situation so you can at least tie the match? Tying the match is better than losing it, because you get 1 match point. But it's not anywhere near as good as winning because you get 3 match points. So he does go for the Greninja. I don't disagree with it, but I would have liked to see Comfey just slightly more. But you could always draw into a Comfey off of the Radiant Greninja, so you're less likely to get the Greninja. Well, I mean, I guess you're just as likely to get the Greninja off of the Flower Selecting, right? But then you would have to choose it. Greninja gets you 2 cards. Comfey only gets you 1 in hand. Yeah, still has 3 energies in hand. Just like drew every energy in his deck. Does get a switch card. He could switch into the Raikou and draw 1 more card. I guess that's not worth the worst case scenario here. Or he could just Beach Court and retreat into it and do that. Yeah, save the switch card for later. Fleet-footed. Draw 1 card. That's another psychic energy. Oh my god. Yeah, Ithiel's like just drawing energies and nothing else. But he's seen a lot more through his deck than Hermione has at this point. But we are getting a water energy into the discard now, so we can actually use that Melanie and draw 3 more cards. So now we're going to have seen just as far through the deck as Ithiel has, or even further. Yeah, we get the Articuno's not too good right now. You could put down the Goodra V-Star. You can Ultra Ball away Double Battle VIP Pass, feels pretty good. You don't want to see those anymore. Okay, not sure why we did that transition out of nowhere. We were already in the match, and then it decides to like go out of the match to go back into the match. So we're going to Ultra Ball for a Comfey. So if we have switch cards now, we would really like to see one of those Comfeys come up and get literally any amount of cards into the Lost Zone. Your opponent, over the course of these last like 3-4 turns, has gotten 2 cards in the Lost Zone, and you've got 0. Again, less than 12 minutes on the clock. You got to start pulling this through here. And just passes. Still nothing. Finally, we see a Colress's Experiment here from Ithiel, so maybe we can see a Cramorant attack now. But now that those Goodra V-Stars in play, I feel like it's really like tie potential from Hermione here, or win potential, because he's already up that 1 game. So Colress's Experiment, going to look at the top 5 cards of the deck. We're going to put 2 in the Lost Zone. Definitely going to be that Battle VIP Pass, and maybe a Colress's Experiment just because you drew an extra 1 off of there. Yeah, so we can save that Nest Ball to get another Pokemon. We have the Switch carts, so we can start moving all our Pokemon around. Yeah, so Ithiel's actually gotten a lot of value off of that Raikou being able to be active so many times. And Hermione, not so much with the boss's orders to keep putting the Manaphy back up. So we are going to Nest Ball for a Comfey. Those nice alternate art Comfeys. I remember the regular Comfeys when they first came out were super expensive because they were so hard to pull. Like, I opened a case and I think I pulled like 5. I opened a case and I only got, I think, 2 Sableyes as well. No. 3? I don't know. I think I pulled 3 Sableyes. 2 of them were reverse hollow. That's why I like the new way that the packs are done. That they started doing in Scarlet and Violet, where you just get a hollow in every pack instead of having to make a, you know, hollows, sometimes playable cards that you just can't pull because there's so many bulk cards in the set. We are at 5 cards in the Lost Zone now for Ithiel. We're going to have to see if we can attack with Cramorant, if we can get another 2 in there for the Mirage Gate. I highly doubt we can get... Well, no, we can. We have Lost Vacuum. We can Lost Vacuum our own Beach Court. And then maybe attack with the Raikou this turn. Oh, no, we're going to try to attack with the Greninja, it looks like. Maybe we can soften up both Goodras at the same time. Again, like I wanted to see in the previous game, but he didn't decide to go for that. Looks like we're going to think about Lost Zoning a Lightning Energy and then our own Beach Court. Energy Recycler to put the 5 energy that were all in our opening hand back into the deck finally. And then Mirage Gate, we still have the second Energy Recycler as well, which is kind of hilarious. So I love that these decks are now utilizing the Lost Vacuum more as a way to get higher into your own Lost Zone count now, as before it was just kind of being used as a lost vacuum. Or a... What? Lost vacuum as a lost vacuum. As like a field blower or a tool scrapper type thing. Now it's actually being utilized for the effect of putting cards in your lost zone. And I know Mew usually plays like 4 Path with 4 Lost Vacuum as well now. Because they lost Quick Ball, so that's just a good way to get cards out of your hand. And here we go. We are going for the 90-90 to both Goodras. Softening them both up at the same time. Only one of them can use Moisture Star. But there is only 7 minutes left on the clock, so again, Ithiel's going to have to play pretty fast if he wants to beat Hermione here. And Hermione still has a pretty good chance of pulling this game out as well. Because Ithiel's only attacker on board, now that the Greninja has just been used, is really just like either Greninja again, or the Raikou, and the Raikou's not hitting for too much because there's not a lot of bench Pokemon in play. Well, I guess now there is. Hermione might want to save the Moisture Star until after his first Goodra goes down, because if he uses it on one Goodra, then Ithiel can always just like boss knock out the other one pretty easily. Yeah, so it's not really worth using Moisture Star until either they both get really damaged or one of them gets knocked out. Finally, some cards are going into the Lost Zone here for Hermione. On turn, what is this? His 5th, 6th, 7th turn? Something like that. He's finally got 2 cards in the Lost Zone. It'd be nice if we had a turn counter like on the Japan streams. Because that would be fun to see exactly which turn number this is for Hermione. If somebody's actually been keeping track, put it in the comments down below. I'm curious. Timestamp it and tell me what turn number it was. And the double battle VIP pass getting lost zoned off the Colress's experiment is what you always love to see. We are going to flower selecting as well. This should be 10 cards in the lost zone now. So we will be able to attack with Sableye at any point in the game. Be able to spread even more damage counters around. I would like to see maybe 6 and 6 go to the 2 Goodras. Either that or maybe 6 and 6 to the 2 Comfeys. Wouldn't be horrible either. Or you could knock out one Comfey and put the rest on one of the... or split the rest between the 2 Goodras. That would be fine. You could put 2 on the Greninja. 7 on one of the Comfeys, and then split the rest between the Goodras. All sorts of different ways you can do it. It's like Lost Box is like a very skill-intensive deck. You have to really just make the right micro decisions every single turn. Because there's so many ways that you could potentially put those damage counters down, and sometimes there's only one right way to do it. Gonna Lost Zone a Water Energy because we did get 2 off of that flower selecting. We are now at 11 cards in the Lost Zone. Again, the judges are keeping track even though it's already at over 10. And we are going to use our V-Star power from the Forest Seal Stone to search our deck for any one card and put it into our hand. Looks like we have triple escape rope in deck right now, which is pretty funny to me. We could also attack with Radiant Greninja here again. Knock out both Comfeys this time, or maybe just put the damage on both Goodras again. Wouldn't be terrible. You're kind of forcing them into V-starring one of them even closer. And again, they don't want to heal until one of their Goodras goes down, so if you just keep attacking with the Greninja, it's going to force them to V-star early, and then maybe you can just keep spreading around with like Sableye and stuff. But I don't know if you're going to have enough turns to piece this together, Ithiel, because you just don't... You haven't taken any prize cards yet. And I know that Lost Box is a deck that doesn't always take prize cards until like late in the game sometimes, because they can piece together knockouts with the With Sableye knocking out and taking like 5 prize cards or 6 prize cards sometimes, even all at the same time. As long as you put 11 damage counters down instead of 12, like Isaiah Bradner. I guess you could take 6 prize cards all at the same time, but I digress. We do go for the double Comfey knockout this time. You know, in hindsight, it would have been better to go for, like... Well, I guess there wasn't double Comfey in play the previous turn when he did 90 and 90, right? There was only one, so it wasn't as worth it. It was more worth it to put the damage to both the Goodra. But now that there's 2 Comfeys, those are 2 easy prize cards. And then a Dragonite should be able to one-shot either of these Goodra, or no, they'd be 20 short if, or 10 short if they do get the Rolling Iron off, right? I did that math in the previous game. And again, just a pass from Hermione, trying to squeeze out this tie, but trying to squeeze out this win for him. There's not enough time for them to go to a game 3 and be able to win it, so he's trying to make it so his opponent hopefully doesn't win this game so that they don't tie, but looks like this will be a tie match again. Always see a ton of tie games on the stream. I think people just take a lot more care with their actions when they're on stream to make sure that they don't end up looking like idiots at home. Oh, and we do go for the Dragonite attack on the Greninja, which is a little odd. Because if we do... Well, there's no world where Hermione Mirage Gates this turn. So I guess if you see Melanie and attach for turn, you're worried. If you're Hermione, you need Melanie, attach for turn, Choice Belt. And then you can Moisture Star your active. And then that's probably your best chance at least not losing the game. Because at least you would be Moisture Starring the one that has all of the energy and Choice Belt on it. I do see the Choice Belt is in hand from Hermione, but he can't Mirage Gate. He's not anywhere near close to 7. He has to Melanie this turn. So there is a Metal Energy he can attach. Oh, but he's going to attach to the bench. He definitely doesn't have any way to get Melanie. So yeah, it looks like we might see a sweep with Dragonite here, and them not being able to go to a game 3 because of not being able to have enough time. These Lost Box decks take so much time, just like Gardevoir. They're such little guys when you have like 1 prize trading matchups, or, you know, 2 prizes where they take less damage and heal themselves, like Goodra. Just always goes to time. Pokemon is a game that was built for a 30-minute best of 1, and in America we play America and in Europe that they're playing in right now. We play that 50-minute best of 3. So when your games always take 25 to 30 minutes to complete, you never end up getting there. And time should have been called about now. So either Ethiel or Hermione were turn 0. It doesn't really matter who. We do get a Raihan. We'll be able to attach a Water Energy here from the discard. Search our deck for any 1 card. But unfortunately, we are not going to be able to use Melanie this turn because we already used a supporter. So we are just going to have to maybe search for an energy to attack with. But looks like we're not going for that. Yeah, so if you're Hermione now, you Moisture Star now and Rolling Iron. So he better have an energy in hand to attack with. He already has the Choice Belt, I saw. So he can one-shot the Dragonite. There's the Moisture Star, like I said. He did Raihan for Roxanne to play that the next turn. Also gets the V-Guard energy. That's perfect. Hermione might actually be able to pull out the win by making sure this game doesn't finish. Oh, I think they just called time now. And I think Ithiel conceded. But yeah, I'm pretty sure Hermione still had the Choice Belt in hand. So he was able to take the knockout on the Dragonite. Be able to take 100 less damage from the Raikou V. So yeah, at most he's taken like 50 from a Cramorant. Let's see, 120, like 40 from a Raikou or something. Yeah, there was no way that his opponent was going to be able to win. So that was a very, very close match just because of how that second game ended. And yeah, even though both players bricked for an ungodly amount of turns, Hermione just ended up bringing it out just with the power of Moisture Star and Rolling Iron combined. And again, that's why this is such a bad matchup for regular Lost Box, because you really do have to fight through that minus 80, and you just aren't able to do it sometimes. So as always, guys, do not forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and we will see you next time.